So I'm very interested in your take on this because I've lived by this idea of not being romantic about business, and I read
Hmm.
that you also practice unromantic relationships with business, and, and
Yeah.
you say you like don't look at your business as your baby. I've read that you
Hmm.
said.
Hmm.
But so many of us start because we're so passionate about the idea. So
Yeah.
how do you admonish us to think about that?
I think that, because every now and again, somebody asks me, do I have kids? I don't have kids, and they'll be like, well, your business is your kid. I'm like, I mean, yeah, kind of, but at the same time, our businesses are not our kids. Our businesses are businesses. They're
Mm,
here to make us money. They're here to provide goods and services to human beings that we serve, you know. Um, I think that it's really important to I think it's really important to give respect to what a business is, but I also understand that it takes a lot of you. It takes
yeah.
a lot of your soul, a lot of your energy, a lot of your, especially when you're really trying to do the thing, you know. You give it all you have, so naturally it feels personal,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of the shit is personal, you know. You have to sacrifice a lot when you're really, really, really in business. Like when things are really at scale and you're growing and moving and shaking and raising money and, you know, in a lot of retailers or, you've got a huge brand online or whatever, it requires a lot of you. So it's like, on one hand, I understand that for the people that do it every day, it's not just business. There is a personal element to it. And on the other hand, we have to understand what the purpose of business is.
Hmm.
Especially this is something in the Black community, because we are held to a standard that frankly is not able to be, it's a standard that's not reality. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
It's not based in reality. It's based a lot in emotion. We don't necessarily always see ourselves as just business people. We see ourselves as Black business people,
Mm.
when in fact we're just business people like everybody else is. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying?
100%.
And so, even though the world wants to put us in that box, we have to do a better job of unconditioning ourselves to stay in that box, because we're just trying to run our shit like everybody else is, right? And so that's another part of it that's really hard, because we grow up, we scale, we raise money, we do all the things. But what happens when you raise money and do all the things? You have to have some kind of strategic partnership.
Hmm.
You have to have a way for your shareholders to be able to become whole on their investment, as well as yourself.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't get rich. I'm not saying that some companies don't, but typically you can be, let me rephrase this, you're not getting wealthy off of being a business owner. You might become rich.
Okay. Okay.
And when I'm talking about rich, you may have money in the bank. You might be able to stack a couple million, right? But having the ability to stock 20 plus in your bank account, which is FU money,
Hmm.
right? Where it can just sit there, you never have to think about it, and you can just earn off of interest. You can just live off of that forever and ever. You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Having the ability to do that means that some sort of an event is happening, right? Some sort of a strategic event. Is it that you've been acquired by a private equity fund? Is it that you've been acquired by a conglomerate? Is it that you took your company to be to IPO, and you were able to let it sit long enough and actually be able to make money off of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
These are the things that we have to do in business. Our skin color and what's between our legs shouldn't matter. But this is another way that I think business is romanticized and emotionalized. I don't even know that that's a reason,
I'll
but
take it.
or a word, right? But but you understand what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Like we have to stop. I shouldn't say we have to do. This is just my opinion. I think that we need to do a better job of respecting what it takes to make this shit happen. Because it takes a lot. And if you're lucky enough, which most companies, whether you're white, purple, brown, green, most companies will never ever ever experience what that is to go through some sort of an event like that, because it just doesn't happen every day. But we shouldn't be penalized because we do.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like we shouldn't be in a position where investors are afraid to invest in us, or strategics are afraid to acquire us because of what the community is going to say. you know I think that's another way um that business has been romanticized, because once you do it, then you're penalized for doing it, and that's not really cool, because you're just doing what you have to do in order to run your business, and in order to you know, go through the motions of what it means to take in venture capital or private equity money.
Yeah.
The day you do
Yeah.
that, that's the day that you've just signed the dotted line to say that you're either selling your company or you're IPOing it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna throw away all the questions I had prepared and just let the spirit move me on this one.
No
This
problem.
was this okay. Okay. So I think listening to at least the beginning of your talk, your statement there, that so many of us get into whatever business we start because we're so passionate about it, and I
Mm-hmm.
wonder your take on, do we even have to be passionate, or can we also be opportunistic also, like our counterparts might be? They just see an opportunity and go because I see an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. I think I sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
go
you.
ahead. I just
Were
want
you done with your
no,
question?
I didn't really have a question, but I wanted to have this conversation.
Yeah, I absolutely think that there's businesses that are what they are, because of opportunity. Look at Jeff Bezos. He's
Mm-hmm.
the richest man in the world, right? There may be somebody wealthier, but like, he's high up, right? He got to where he is because he saw an opportunity, right?
Do you see
Um,
enough of us doing that, or because I believe, at least from my perspective, that we are more taught like, what do you care about? What are the things that move you, and then go start a
well,
business off
yeah,
that.
yeah. I actually agree with you, right? We are brought up to care about things. We are brought up to feel responsible for what we put into the world, to we're more, I don't want to say more, we're a communal community, right? We that those types of things are important to us. So I'm not going to say what anybody should or shouldn't do. um you know I'm kind of both, and I can only speak for myself, right? I'm very much passionate about what I do. I think that this is part of the reason why I was put on this planet, is to do what I do. I am very lucky to have found my passion, right?
Yeah.
I am very lucky to have found what my purpose is on this planet, right? For me to be alive. I feel that way. And, you know, I am a conscious capitalist,
Mm-hmm.
right? I do believe in wealth. I do believe, I do believe in what it can do for you. I believe in how it can change your life. I believe in how it can change others' lives. Um, and I deeply believe in business, and what the capacity of running a business, how that can make you wealthy, and how, if you do that right and with the right responsibility and the right care and the right love, you can do all those things, be wickedly successful, or wildly successful rather, and still care,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can, because you have to, if you want to be successful in business, you have to be opportunistic. You have to be able to see the shit that most people don't see. You have to be able to be like, huh. You have to be able to see a white space. You have to see, 20 steps ahead. You have to know the direction that something is going, right? So you have to be, I believe that you have to be both, right? I believe that, and I'm not projecting that onto anybody else, but as it relates to me, I believe that being able to be opportunistic and also being able to be relatable and also being able to be responsible and loving and caring, because I make products that people use on their bodies, that people use on their vaginas, right? That's not something that I think is to be taken lightly, you know? So that has to be done with a lot of care, love, responsibility. That has to, because we're not just making things for people to use. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there has to be beautiful energy infused into these products, so
Mm-hmm.
it's actually helping to heal their lives.
Yeah.
That, and that's a very esoteric view of business, but that's how I see it, you know which makes the way we run our business very special and beautiful and hard. But yeah, to answer your question, I think you need to be both.
Have we dangerously over, not, no pun intended, romanticized raising money?
I think we have,
How so?
because it was too easy to raise it over the past, call it, for when all the humans, um, you know, starting with George Floyd, even though this has been happening for thousands of years, the brutality and killing of black men,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, the world saw it. Everybody wanted to do something. Nobody was doing anything else because COVID had happened, so we were all sitting at home. So everybody only had the ability to pay attention. Well, what happened from that, DE, diversity, equity, and inclusion, happened. Companies were sprouting up, whole departments around it, right? Um, you know, Venture capitalists and investors, all types of investors, were putting together funds, for BIPOC humans, not just for Black people, just humans, diverse humans all the way around, whether that meant, you know, um, think of all the different cultures and ethnicities, LGBTQ plus community, veterans, women. Um, you know, I think money was just falling from the sky. Everybody could just go out and raise it, even if you just started your business. That's not really the time to raise money because you don't even really know what you have yet,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, I think that raising money, I don't think that we shouldn't have access to money that's out there. You know, I'll speak now for our race as Black people. I think that should just access should be access. There shouldn't have to be funds that are focused
Yeah. Yeah.
on only Black and brown humans. It doesn't matter because it needs to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
this is the world we live in, but I am very much a believer and know how hard it is to raise money and how hard it should be to raise money,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you literally are asking people, whether it's angel investors, who that's typically money that they've made in their life,
Right.
that they're
Right.
taking out of their bank account to invest in your business, right? Those are typically the first ones that invest, right? Then there's venture capital, which in my mind you shouldn't be going. I don't personally believe that it's time to get venture capital money until you've actually proven that you have something,
Mm-hmm.
because venture capital money typically comes with rules. And I'm not saying that, seed capital and all those things aren't important, because they are, but I personally think that when it comes to bringing capital into the business, you should know what you have. You should know where it's going, right? You should know, how you're going to invest it, how you're going to grow your team, all those different types of things. And I think for a few years, money was just falling out of the sky, and people didn't necessarily have the education. I mean, I can say that because at one point we didn't have the education,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You know, and my brother Cyrus, I remember I used to say to him, bro, we need to raise some money. And he would like, we don't need to raise no money yet. What are we raising it for? We're selling on a website into some small natural stores. We don't need no money. When Target came, that's when he was like, okay, now we need some money.
Yeah,
Right? Because now we have somewhere to hang our hat. Like that when a mass market retailer comes, that's when you have the ability to really scale your business because they've got thousands of doors, right? So, you know, I'll mainly speak for CPG, which is consumer packaged goods. You know, I don't believe that people should raise money in CPG until they've at least figured out how to make $1 million on their own, right? Um, you know, maybe I'm old school for believing that, but I think that it's important for you to understand the logistics, the operations. What do you actually need the money for? Where's it going? If you figured out how to make 1 million, you can figure out how to make 10. You understand what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
And so, you know, I do think that it was over romanticized. But it was also a beautiful thing because so many people, you know, the gap was able to kind of be filled a bit. But the problem is that a lot of those brands that were getting all that money, where are they today?
yeah, yeah,
Because it kind of sets you up for failure if you don't know how you're going to execute those funds and actually grow the thing. You understand what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
So if you getting money is just a very small fraction of it. You have to, and having an investor that wants to be more to you than just money is also equally important. They need to be invested in helping you build your leadership team, which helps you build out the rest of your team. They need to be invested in helping you understand how you're going to operationally run your business, right? They need to be invested in, you know, regulatory and helping you understand what that roadmap is and how you're going to grow it, you know, because even if you just make a face wash at this point, the way that the FDA is moving, everything is heavily regulated.
yeah,
You understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so if you don't have the tools and the resources to understand how to do these things, it makes it very hard for you to make money, you know?
Yeah. What is the difference between what you did or what you see as as a better roadmap versus people who make a potion, do it in their kitchen, sell it out of their kitchen, sell it out of their trunk, you know, quote unquote, proverbial trunk, and they don't get past that?
I think because we were that, right? We started in our kitchen, selling it out of our trunk. Um I you know, honestly, some of it is luck, some of it is the know-how, you know. Um like I was lucky enough to be I worked in Whole Foods as a salesperson in Whole Body.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew how to talk to a customer, right? My brother was my, you know, is my co-founder. Um, he was an accountant, so he knew how to deal with money. He knew how to talk to high net worth individuals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Linda had worked in marketing. She's one of our other original co-founders, not necessarily with the business anymore, but um you know, she knew how to build. At that time we considered her to be our CMO, right? But we were young, so we were just, you know, we were just creating titles.
Yeah.
That's another thing you do when you're young, right? As a business owner. um but I think we as a collective had the know-how within our respective fields because it's what we did every day, you know. And then after I worked at Whole Foods, I went on to be a broker, so I knew how to talk to a buyer.
Wow. Okay.
You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, you know, I think some of it's luck. I think some of it's having the know-how of how to like at least be able, whether it's going into a small retailer or a big one, knowing how to talk to them, knowing what they're looking for. Um, I think, it requires a lot of grit. I think having access and having something, really, it goes down to mostly is having a product that has the ability to really catch fire and really go. Like it's having a product that people need, I think, on an everyday basis. I think that that's also something to it. And again, I can only speak to this in CPG. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
it's what I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's a combination of a lot of things. And some people have really dope products that people do use every day. But it's just so hard because there's so many products out in the world. It's just so hard to get off the ground. Some
Yeah.
people have all that stuff, and they may still never be able to get it to where we have it. It's not because what I have is better than what they have. I think also it's also about what's in order for you in your life, you know? And some of those things can't, aren't predetermined. Some things you just, it just kind of is what it is. So that doesn't make it a bad thing or a good thing. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
Some people will continue to do the same thing for the next 10 years, and they maybe they don't get past a few 100,000. Maybe they can crack 1 million, but it's hard for them to get past that. And that's not a bad thing, because
Mm-hmm.
that means you still have something. You understand
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's the question that I ask about, like, our relationship with raising money is like, if you look pre COVID and George Floyd, and almost, I
Yeah.
guess we're post COVID and George Floyd now, because we romanticized what
Yeah.
TechCrunch was talking about. This company raised, my camera. I'm about to switch cameras, but I'm gonna get this question out first because it's still recording. With the
Okay.
concept of raising money was glamorized when you saw these companies raise $1 million, five
It
hundred
was.
thousand dollars. Then we start to think that that's the goal, and profit isn't the goal. And I'd love to hear you speak to that.
Right. Right. Profit is the goal all the way, every day. It used to be that profit, you think of like the Dollar Shave Clubs of the world, how they had the ability to scale their business, I don't know, to like 150 million or something like that. And then they were able to sell to, I think they sold to Unilever or somebody like that for like $1 billion. I don't know that
Mm-hmm.
they were necessarily profitable, right? But they came up at a time, right, where profitability was not necessarily what the strategics were looking for.
Yeah, yeah,
What they were excited about when it came to Dollar Shave Club is the fact that they had over 1 million subscribers,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And that was a time when direct to consumer was really hot, right? Subscriptions were also a hot thing at that time. you know Now we're at a time where, you see, I mean, we all saw what happened with WeWork,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That shit was wild, right?
yeah,
And those guys are going to be fine. They're going to just go out and do a million other things and be wickedly successful. But now I think that it's really important to strategics that it make that companies do have, at least if you're not profitable, you have a lot. You've got the, what's the word I'm looking for? You at least have profitability in your view.
mm-hmm.
You may not be profitable yet, but you have to be
You're
able
on
to tell
track.
the story
Yeah,
how
you're
you're
on
going to
track.
get over there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You have to be making a decent margin. And these are things that you want anyway. Even if the world was still the same back when Dollar Shave Club was able to go out and sell their company for billions of dollars or whatever, just because we see that, in my mind, it's better of you to be a responsible business person and make sure that you have a company that's making a great margin, that's able to put money in the bank, right? Because money in the bank gives you access to lines of credit. It makes you sexy to be able to go out into the world when it is time to raise money, to be able to raise that money. It makes it so that your investors know that because you've already built the you've already kind of put yourself in a position where you've built your business to be profitable. You've built your business to be lean, effective, to be able to drive revenue, to be able to print money, right?
Yeah.
When you build a business from that point of view, that's going to make it so whatever you decide in the future, right? Especially if you've brought in private equity or venture capital money, knowing that you're going to have some sort of an event, that makes it so that you've built the muscle to be able to go out to market, to be able to potentially sell to a strategic, or to be
Yeah.
able to go out and IPO, because IPOing is really hard, right? I mean, I've got several friends that have IPO'd. Some of them have penny stocks right now. You
Wow.
understand what I'm saying? And that's
Yeah.
not a terrible thing. It is what it is, but it's a very hard market to be in because everybody is in your business at that point, right? All it takes is one viral moment that can make the stock plummet, you know? And so, amongst many other things, all the regulations, all the things you have to uphold on a monthly, daily basis it's wild. So, I think building the muscle to be profitable, to be lean, to make sure you're covering a high margin, to understand your business inside and out is really important. Building that muscle from the beginning is really important because that's where we are at this point. I think the strategics of the world learned that profitability is actually really important because that tells them that you have a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
What is missing? Like when you see these conversations around, and you don't have to say the name, but I'll say the name Target, and you see all these things happening. What's missing from that conversation that you wish we understood? Because we're all looking at the targets and you're like, y'all need to understand this. But what should we understand about?
I think the thing that's important to understand, um, I'm not going to speak from a Target point of view because
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yep.
my brand isn't Target.
Yep.
We sell there. I think what's important to understand in a time like this is what it takes to get the opportunity to be in a Target. What it
Yeah.
takes to get on shelf at Target, what it takes even bigger than that. Because getting on the shelf is actually, it's not easy, but it's easy. What's hard is staying there.
Okay.
And what's really hard is when your business is not, when your velocities aren't growing and turning, when you're not meeting your dollars per store per week, right? When your sales are down, you know, when your sales are down, and then when how do I give this example without alienating anything? When you as a brand, not just Honey Pot, just in general, right? When your numbers may be down due to what's happening,
Yeah.
right? But they're actually seeing that their numbers aren't so down. It makes it look like
Yep. Yep.
your numbers are down because of another reason.
Yep.
When in fact, your numbers are probably down because of what's actually happening.
Right. Right.
Right.
I got it.
It makes it hard for brands to be able to survive in a space like that.
They don't take into
Now,
account the landscape.
you have to
Yeah.
take into
Yeah.
account the whole landscape
Yeah.
of things,
Yeah.
what it takes to get on shelf. Like a lot of people are talking about right now how they're seeing a lot of the brands marked down. People are saying, they're seeing a lot of the Black brands marked down, right? Well, right now, is the time right before they're about to launch all their new stuff on the shelf. So quite naturally, typically the things that are going to be discontinued off the shelf are happening right now. So what do? They mark it down, they try to sell through it until right before they're gonna set the shelf for the rest, for the new things that are going to come on shelf, because you have to make space on shelf for the new stuff, right?
Yeah.
But the average person doesn't know that. To them, they think, oh, they just made an announcement about DE&I, and now they're marking down all these brands and throwing all these brands out. That's not the case. These brands were going to be marked down whether they continued their DE&I practices or not, because you have to make room on the shelf, because some of these brands probably have new innovation coming, or some of them maybe weren't meeting their requirements, right? There's a multitude of reasons why a brand has to discontinue things or why they have to come off shelf. Why? Because it's really hard to be in mass market retail. It's very, 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 very hard, right? There's a real art to it. There's a real intellectual side to it. It's heavily operational, it's heavily logistical. It's heavy with trade spend. Not understanding trade spend can literally murder your business. You could have $1 million worth of purchase orders and only get paid back 100,000 because it may have been late, may not have showed up, it may have not showed up on time, it may not have been stickered the right way. There's so many things that can happen that can cause for them to just charge you. You understand what I'm saying? The chargebacks, right? And so, so trying not to, even though they just made the announcement that they made, trying not to make everything so literal, because some of these things are just things that just not, like we were talking about earlier. These are just things that just naturally happen in business, right? It's not that they had a plan to let some of these companies go. They are literally making space on the shelf for new products that are about to be launching, because April, May is the time, right? And so, some of what I mentioned is something I think that needs to be taken into account. I think the biggest thing that needs to be taken into account is to not make brands pay for something that a retailer chooses. But I also understand that, certain companies don't necessarily always listen until their bottom line is affected. And so I also understand the point of these things. So I also want to preface what I'm saying with, you also have to make your own decision about what you want to do. Some of the things that I'm saying is just my own opinion, but I'm not trying to tell people what they should do. You have to choose where you want to shop, where you want to spend your money, who you want to spend your money with. I just think that it's important to understand the plight of a business owner who is essentially renting real estate from Target, from Walmart, from these these retailers, in order for us to run our business. It's not, if you try to just pull your products out of a Target, that literally would be death to your brand by a million cuts, right? Because you wouldn't survive. You don't just pull your products out, they charge you to pull those products out.
Wow.
And then what are you going to do? Some people say, well, you can just sell your products online. Well, when you sell products online, that's only one store. You have to pay your 3PL fees. You have to pay for shipping. Unless you have a product that is an expensive product, it's very hard to make money direct to consumer. It's a misnomer to say, people, it's a misconception. People think that you make so much money by selling direct to consumer. But if you make a product that's under $20, I'm sorry to tell you, that's just not the case.
Yeah, so I guess my question then is, I've heard, and I don't know this, so maybe you know more about this, like they're taking away the section of those products, like the black section, and then putting it in with other, like there will just not be a section. But so
Yeah.
maybe the question
And
is,
we want that. We want that. We don't want to be in a black section.
yeah,
We
that's my
want to
question.
be
That's my question.
we want to be if you make if listen, if you make body wash and body lotion, where is your product best sold?
In the body wash, the body lotion section.
If you make hair care products, right? Where is your hair care best sold? If you make shampoos and conditioners, it's best sold in the place that you go and buy shampoo and
Yeah,
conditioner.
yeah,
I make vaginal wellness products. Why would my products work in an area of the store that's allocated for humans of color? That's weird. That's not weird to you?
yeah. I guess you take it to the level of like, why is there an organic section of the grocery stores? Like, this is just the.
Yeah, but brother, they all the retailers stopped doing that. I don't know where you live, but I remember back in and this is only because I come from retail. I remember back in the day, Kroger used to have an organic section,
Yeah.
right? Well, they found that people didn't want to just go to the organic section.
Mm-hmm.
People wanted to buy their organic potato chips in the potato chip aisle.
Yeah, yeah.
They want to get their organic cereal, their kashi or whatever in the cereal aisle. I want to buy my organic milk in the milk section. I
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah,
have to go over here and then go over there. It's a better shopping experience when you can walk a store, navigate a store and navigate it the way that you would typically navigate and experience the way that you would when you can just buy your things where you traditionally go to buy them.
yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah,
you're trying to get a human consumer to practice a different way of shopping, which your condition, which makes it harder for them to do. So, do you understand what I'm
no, no.
saying?
This makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the few minutes I have left, I want to ask about like your leadership style, how that's evolved, over time from, let's say a small company, you talked about in your kitchen proverbially to
Hmm.
now 70 plus people. Like, how has B had to change?
Mm, that's a good question. Um, I think that I think that my style has definitely is constantly changing. In the beginning, you kind of have to be everything, you know. Um, when you're scaling, you're typically bringing in people who have more expertise. So then your leadership style has to redevelop a bit because you're bringing in leadership. So you need to give them the ability to lead.
Hmm.
You have to be able to step back and not be um you have to trust them, right? And you also have to have the ability to be open to them making mistakes because that's how we all learn. So, you know, but it's hard when you go from doing everything to bringing somebody in, especially bringing somebody in that's probably replacing you a bit, right? Because in the beginning it was me inside, but then over time, I'll speak for myself. My investors felt like we needed a president, which they weren't wrong. We did.
Hmm.
I've never ran a multi-million-dollar business before. This is my first time. You
Yeah,
understand what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
So like my understanding of running a company has limitations. So they were like, hey, we really feel like we need to bring in a president because, and the person that they brought in, Allison Zavaya, who's incredible. I mean, she's worked at multi-billion-dollar businesses, right? And so she knows she's gonna know what needs to be done, how to build this team, how to strategically grow it. How do we put in services and tools in order to be able to grow our teams and give them the resources that she's just going to have a different level of experience than I have. And so I have to have the ability to respect that there's only so much that I know. And if I want this business to go where I know it can, I have to let her lead. I have to
Yeah,
step
yeah,
back, right?
yeah,
And I have to still know know and respect what I do, because nobody can do what I do, right? For as it relates to this business,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and I have to realize that there's things that I don't have the ability to do. And so the art of being a good leader is understanding what you don't know how to do, so that you can get the right people into the job, so that you can trust them and give them the ability to grow. You know, but also understand what it is you know how to do and you know how to do best,
Hmm.
so that you can do that shit all the way,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So I think, you know, if I had to give it a name, I'm probably very much a transformative leader. Um, you know, I really respect the leaders on my team. I really respect their opinion. I really respect their, you know, their backgrounds. I respect what they bring to this business. Um, you know, and honestly, I welcome it, because, you know, in order for this to be what I know it can be, you know, Honey Pot is a conglomerate brand within itself, even before we sell to a conglomerate at some point.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Which
100%.
which would be the final home of Honey Pot,
Yeah.
right? Um, but in order for us to get there, you know, we have to be able to ebb and flow. Um, we have to die to our egos. We have to know why we're here and who we're serving, and keep that human at the forefront of why we do everything that we do, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because that's what's most important. That human with the vagina is the most important to us, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, and then also our team is very important. It's also the most important, right? Like we work really hard to make really beautiful, efficacious, beautiful skincare, vaginal care, menstrual care, personal care. But we have to treat each other well in the process. You know, if we're working in a toxic work environment, the output of that is going to be toxic.
Hmm.
And so also how we treat each other within the company is very important. How we respect each other, how we talk to each other, how we build our businesses with each other. You know, it's a culmination of a lot of things. Um, you know, but it definitely changes all the time. And you know, for some people change can be really hard. For me, change is not hard. Um, I actually welcome change. I'm a very, very, very hyper present person. Um, and but I know, you know, the evolution doesn't happen without change, you know. And I want Honeypot to be here for the next however many hundreds of years, you know. And in order to do that, um, you know, I think that you have to be able to flow.
To be respectfully of time, I'll give one last question for you. And
Yeah.
I think about, I have this conversation with friends a lot, and this idea of building a business on support. And I feel like we have to at some point get past support. I buy this because I support it. Like, but even before this whole Target thing, I was like you don't go to Target because you support Target. You go to Target because they got what you need. But so many of our businesses are like, I need your support to,
Mhm.
keep the lights on. And I'm like, we got to move past that. So I love to hear your thoughts on that and how we get past just support.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that look, I have a few thoughts about that. I think for the brand that is literally Target is about to be their very first retailer, their very first mass market retailer, right? And they're about to go on shelf. And maybe they're a decent sized brand on their own, right? Like they figured out how to make some real money, and they've gotten into Target, and they're looking to grow their business. That company needs support.
Yeah.
Your first few years in retail, you first of all, you may not have tons of money. Even if you're making money, it's hard to, it's, marketing and all those things cost and absorbent amounts of money, right? So you may not have all the tools and resources that's going to take you to the next level as far as like being able to support your product on shelf. Most companies, you're just trying to figure out how to do that, right? If you're only in 100 doors, it doesn't make sense to pay Target or any other retailer $25,000 for their in-store marketing programs because you're only in 100 doors. You pay that amount of money when you're in at least 1,100 doors or more, right? And so when it comes to support, that brand needs support because they're testing right now, potentially, so that next year they can go back to Target and say, hey, you tested me in 100 doors. Now I want to be in 200 doors or 500 doors. But in order for them to get that 500 doors, what has to happen? Those 100 doors have to produce. So that brand needs support because they don't have the resources to go out and do big, huge marketing campaigns and do all the shit that that a big brand has the ability to do. Wouldn't even make sense for them to do because they're only in 100 doors. So in the beginning, they really need the support of their customer that's been following them, that's been supporting them the whole time, that's been buying their products online or buying it out of their trunk or whatever the circumstance or situation is. Now, I agree with you that you have to get to a point where where it's not just like you're just living off of support. You have to get to the point to where you're living off of velocity.
Yeah,
where
I like that.
where you are scaling and growing, right? You started in 100 doors, now you got into 500 doors. Following year you got into 1,000. Now you're going to go talk to Walmart, then you're going to go talk to Kroger, then you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now you want to go talk to CVS. But in the beginning you need some support, right? Because you got to get off the ground. You have to move past the support phase, but that is phase one of getting into mass market. And I think that and that is one of the things, to your earlier question, of things that we have to realize as consumers that buy products off of shelves. Because you're right, Target, they're a machine.
Yeah.
Right? Like they are kind of the mother retailer, and then the sisters and brothers are on the shelves, right? We need to, in order for Target to be what it is, it cannot survive without brands. Brands cannot survive without human beings consuming our products.
That's right.
It just doesn't work that way. We all need each other, right? And so, I agree with you. The goal needs to be getting out of the support phase, but every single business has to go through the support phase before they get to the next one.